All right, great. So welcome everyone. Today's stream is kind of a reporting one. I want to tell you and share what we have going on. If there are any questions, I will happily answer questions. So if anyone has any questions, get them ready. I will be answering. We have quite a bit to look at for the last 5 months. We have results. So accordingly, we will now discuss them. I will simply go through all the investments, everything we had. So the first thing I want to say, since we are a combination of an investment joint venture and an investment fund, we should be focused on making money. Let us take a look at our earnings, what we have in general, and what our results are. So based on the results of 5 months, we can say the following. We have the following picture for KARATOR Gold on the deal itself, on the structure of the deal. That is, we purchased shares in a Russian joint stock company, and we bought their 0.75%. Accordingly, now, from the latest dialogues with Evgeny and with Yuri, these are, respectively, the DAO participants who originally shaped the deal and originally proposed the deal. It has become known that they are moving to Dubai as legal entity. That is, the Russian joint stock company moves its registered office to Dubai. That is, they will transfer the deposits to the Dubai jurisdiction. Accordingly, they are now engaged in that process. There is that news from the last dialogue that once the transition process is over, at least I will definitely be initiating an offering to sell the 0.25% of the shares that DAO owns. So that is about 1/3 of the stake that we have acquired. Accordingly, the current valuation, based on the audit agency report, is on around $250 million. The valuation at which the DAO went in was $22 million. How much can we get out for? I honestly do not know. I will bring it up in the format of let us try to sell, but the question is what the market going to be. That is, we have the first market there. It is the community that Evgeny Hodchenkov already has, and it will want to enter the deal at a later stage when the licenses and documents are already present. So these are the ones who did not want to go in the riskier stage, and they will want to go in the less risky stage. Accordingly, there they can buy at a valuation of capitalization, I think, in the range of $80 to $120 million. For DAO ARK, it is potentially, if we count the same 88 million notionally, that is 4 times what we originally invested. Accordingly, if we will sell 1/3 of the share, 1/3 of the share we had was about $70,000 respectively. If we will sell it 4 times more expensive, it is about $300,000. What is $300,000 to us? $300,000 means getting back the $200 we put in, and we can kind of decide what to do with another $100. We can either reinvest $100,000 back into DAO ARK, that is, to increase the investment capital, or we can pay it out as dividends. That is, we can pay out a well-deserved dividend of $100,000. So we return $200 to the DAO, they will be in the account waiting for new initiatives to invest in. And we can use the $100,000 as a dividend. It's just like a kind of suggestion that can be activated that I will just put forward. I mean, what is this being done for? I believe that first of all, we should acknowledge the point of return of funds, that we should acknowledge the break-even point specifically for this investment. Secondly, to pay out $100,000 in dividends, since it will basically be a good earned part. Plus, we still have 0.5% of this project that will be of dividend type. That should generate us direct income from the sale of the metals, gold, silver, and copper that are in the deposit. What the current status of mining is, I do not know. I will be clarifying that. I'm definitely planning on go there to the deposit this summer. If someone from DAO also wants to go to the deposit itself in July and August to stomp their feet there, you can write me. You will need to do the following. Come to Kyrgyzstan, come for about a week. That is for 5 to 7 days. Your passport shall be needed in advance in order to get permission to depart. There will be an interstate stretch. It's between China and Kyrgyzstan. That is, you would have to go outside of Kyrgyzstan but into the neutral zone between China and Kyrgyzstan, and a permit will be required there. Accordingly, this permit must be obtained by submitting a passport 1 week before we go there. So anyone who wants to, you can come, you will be welcome. And I would love to go there myself. That was regarding the deposit itself, the KARATOR Gold, regarding this deal. All right, any current issues? I mean, the status is current. What is happening at the deposit right now, I do not know. We can try to do a stream with Yuri. Yuri can give more details on what is going on there. Or we can come there in the summer. Summer is the best time to go there. That's late July to early August, meaning it's the dry season, good weather. The weather is severe there, believe me. It's over 3.5 kilometers above sea level. That is, it is high enough. It is not so easy to get there. You will have to drive there by Jeep for a long time first. It will take literally 2 or 3 hours to go to the mountains by Jeep, then ride horseback for another 3 or 4 hours. But it seems like they should have built the road over the summer. If the road gets sorted out, we will then be able to get there by jeeps. So we will spend a total of 3 to 4 hours driving there in jeeps. I mean, it's done in a day. We leave early in the morning, we get there by lunchtime. We are there for a few hours and we are out of there before sunset, preferably a couple hours before sunset, to get out of a fairly unpleasant stretch in daylight. You don't want to be up there in the mountains at night. So that was about the KARATOR gold. Are there any questions about this deal? All right, yes, I see. I will clarify. Igor is asking, how will the sale of 0.25% of gold shares be arranged? Will you do it yourself or use a brokerage firm? That's where I will be discussing the issue with Eugene as well. There is an option out there for a fairly quick deal for us. This is if some of the investors that Evgeny knows from the community he communicates with want to come in at a more stable stage when development and production has already started, when all the licenses are in order. They come in at a discount, let's say 100 million in valuation, whereas cash and markup is 250 million, and it's profitable for them, maybe. The second option is to involve a brokerage company. The third option is respectively to make an offer ourselves as a DAO. I mean, I see it this way. I see these three options as fairly real, sovereign, and perhaps even parallel. That we don't have to wait for any single one, that we can start all three options at once. All right, Vlad is asking, can we not go as part of the July meeting? It was announced that there will an additional trip. We will go to the mine. The only thing I cannot guarantee is weather conditions. The space is very peculiar there. If the weather will be bad, it will not be possible to go there. Bad weather means it will rain or snow, or there will be snow blizzards. So these are the major obstacles that could prevent us from going. Plus, you have to leave there early in the morning, and anyone who wants to go will need to have passes made for everyone. We will try to go to KARATOR itself on our July trip, where we will have a few days purely for the mine. We will try to get there. It is just that when we arrived last time, we had already gotten to the horses and it started raining. Rain at an altitude of 3 to 3.5 kilometers is not the most pleasant experience you can have in your life, to put it mildly. It's very cold, it's very nasty, and it gets wildly cold out there. Rain starts to mix with snow. So if that doesn't happen, we will go. Okay, I think Dmitry wanted to ask the question aloud.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Yes, hello Ivan, hello everyone too. I'm glad to meet you online. I didn't manage to at the first meeting, unfortunately. I have a question is basically in general on this sale of our share in gold. I mean, that's primary wealth. I certainly understand what we planned originally, but since we have increased our capital by a factor of 4 in less than a year, this is a very promising project. And you said at the last meeting that the biggest problems that could arise in this deal are jurisdictional issues, ownership issues, if the owner changes and so on. And since, especially now, it's being moved to the Emirates, meaning it will probably be safer to own a share of this company, perhaps we keep that wealth to ourselves. Why sell gold? I mean, it's always going to be valuable.
Yes, I agree there. But if you look at it, you know how we are in a DAO after all. What I'm going to say is just a suggestion that I think is based on logic, rationality, and a fairly conservative, safe investment strategy. I do not know what's going to happen with this gold in 3 to 5 years. I do not know how the power will shift here. If we have a partial exit window where we can sell part of the share, recover our stake, make a gain and sit and watch with that gain, eating popcorn, just eating popcorn and watching a movie, then I would choose this option for the community, since it's the safest because we are already in the black. Of course, you can own it, sit back and languish over the gold. You can do that, but I think it's a riskier strategy because this mine is not in a jurisdiction that guarantees us safety. It is not in the phase of active mining such that tons of metal is already being taken out of there and the buyers are lining up. I mean, I would suggest such a simple and rational solution. Listen, yes, I am rather in favor of not being greedy, that let us rather give fate some of the gold, pay it off for our own peace of mind. But we shall have a good case. What else do I see here? That a DAO went into a gold mine and came out of it with a profit. It's a good case, it's a very good case. I would really like to see us realize that over the summer. This is my dream for the summer, that we will realize a part of the share in this deal and return our invested capital. And yes, this is purely risk management, nothing more, Dmitry. So I will only make a proposal. This proposal can be challenged, blocked, another proposal can be made, sell less, sell more, do not sell at all. I mean, I am here in favor of us debating already in the process, when the fact of the proposal itself will be there. There is no proposal itself yet because the transition to another jurisdiction is underway. We do not have the specifics yet that we have anything to offer anyone, so these are only predictions for now. You know, that is my opinion.
I get it, thank you, I agree. Then an additional question. Are there any similar deals in gold for us to sit in gold? Let's say take a profit and enter a new deal in gold with a smaller part, or half of that profit.
Look, please.
Explain, please.
Let me explain an important point which I wanted to convey at the very beginning when we created DAO. When we entered gold and semi-precious stones, we did not set the task of making super money or getting rich. The goal is to not lose and make us some profit. That was the challenge, at least for me, strategically, and what for. In order to understand how to enter into such deals, what deals there are in general, how to enter them, how to get out of them, what are the nuances. And when we have the next iteration of investments in precious stones, in precious metals, we can enter them more competently, sensibly, with understanding of the issue, with experience, look for more profitable, less risky ones, forecast realistic yields and realistic risks. So that was actually the main objective, so that we could gain valuable experience in investing in these kinds of businesses and these kinds of assets without losing money, and ideally increasing it a little bit, and then we could gain valuable experience in investing in these kinds of businesses and these kinds of assets. And accordingly, in order to not just sit with experience, that's the answer to the question, not to just have experience and say, here, we have a medal for investments in gold. No. It is for us to start further looking for similar deals or resembling deals and start going into them already with more confidence.
So did I hear correctly, there are no similar ones available right now, but we will be looking?
There are no similar ones. No one offered anything. No, I was offered, of course, a mine in Africa, but I am not ready to offer such deals for DAO. A lot of risk there, a large amount of money. So yes, we will at least start looking for such offers in the external market. But we would have to get out of one first so that we do not get into one, into the second, into the third, sit in them and do not come out. Ideally, get out of somewhere, get in somewhere. And just like that, gradually jump from pot to pot, increasing wealth.
Got it. Thanks for the replies. Listening further.
Great. So it's a second deal. Anyway, regarding KARATOR, I tried to explain what we have going on here, how things work here. I hope I have explained it. This is what we have to date, the most up-to-date information. Gems of Kyrgyzstan, everything is much simpler there. We had an understandable loan at 3% a month there. As far as I remember, either $15,000 or $18,000 has already come from there. That is, so far they have been paying $3,000 a month. Some of it we already paid out last time with dividends. Our next dividend is, as far as I remember, on July the 10th, the next dividend payment. And it will be about $9,000 from Gems of Kyrgyzstan in total from this specific deal. It's all clear there, no questions. The same thing there, good experience. That is, Gems of Kyrgyzstan is a deposit that I have traveled to several times. I was there, I got souvenir stones from there myself. So the place is good, the business is quite clear. The guys did not let us into the capital. They said, give us a loan. We will deal with the capital ourselves. We will multiply it ourselves. I kind of understand them too, no questions. But in general for businesses, I also think that if a business can borrow and not let capital in, that's much better than letting capital in but not borrowing. Because the most expensive thing, the most expensive money, is the company's stock. It is usually the most expensive money. There is no more expensive money in the world. Now, that's about the gems. As for the IT sector, what do we have? We have ARK Wallet, ARK Consensus. It's a mobile app. I congratulate you. We made it after all. We have made it. We have made it on Android and on iOS platforms. It works. We finally launched it. The iOS is ready. We are now testing Android version. And I think that those of you who are testing the wallet, it's already the second month of testing it. That's it. We do not find any bugs. We do not notice any errors there. We have already everything on the iOS app. Accordingly, on the iPhone, we got personal account. We got what we had been waiting for a long time. We already sent the app into release for launching, respectively, to let people do the tests. And now we have been asked for encryption mechanisms. Anyway, App Store already not launched, but requested the encryption algorithms. And accordingly, we give them the encryption algorithms. And that's it. Basically, we will be ready to have test users already on iOS. What's so interesting about the consensus? We already have several partners for integration. We already have the first few tens of thousands of dollars of investment that other investors have already made in ARK Consensus. Just 2 hours ago, I was talking to a representative from England. Her name is Lorna. They have an investment community of 300 people. They are, crypto enthusiasts. They come in with amounts of several $1,000s, and they became interested in our project. We have been negotiating with them for about a month now. We had our final meeting today. We have agreed on concrete and specific cooperation. We agreed on the terms of cooperation. Basically, English-speaking community of English and Australians will be attracted there to invest in the project. This is as far as ARK Consensus is concerned. Yesterday, I had a dialogue with one of the biggest companies that deals with market making, that is token price management. Accordingly, they too said that the project is very interesting. We want to be strategic partners. They want an exclusive partnership on market making, that is managing the value of our token. And they said the project is cool, to put it simply. What have we implemented so far? That is, those who are on Android, by the way, those who have Android, send a message today saying, let me in to test the application. They will let you in. And those of you on iOS, I think you will have to wait just a few more days, and they will also let you in to use the application already. What's working there? Face ID is fully functional there. Now, when you create an account, a blockchain address through our application, a record is created on the blockchain. How? We take your face, convert it into a cipher. The cipher is located in Web3 storage, a decentralized cloud to which no one has access to. That cloud stores the long cipher of your face. And the link to this decentralized cloud cipher is stored in the blockchain next to your wallet, which means a record is added. And thus today, the feature where you, by registering an ARK wallet, prove that this registration was done by a real living person is already implemented. Right now, we have a transaction module running. When you send tokens from ARK wallet, a record is also created that this transaction was made by a real living person, which means the hash of your face, that is, your encrypted face, is saved as well. And the link to this encrypted face is directly embedded in the blockchain and it can be verified. During June, we are also adding the face transactions module so you can make transactions with your face, use another person's face as a QR code. I think it will take 2 to 4 weeks. By the end of June, we should have this feature ready. In July, we will be adding a feature to integrate into the project and will be actively integrating into the project. That is basically the active phase of the application's life has begun, so to speak. I mean, we are already starting to use it. It's connected to the blockchain in live mode. That's just general information about consensus. It was difficult. It was hard. There were many pitfalls, and we spent quite a lot of budget, about 30 to 40% of the budget, I would say. We didn't spend as efficiently as we would have liked because it was not entirely clear what to do. There were complex features, and it was difficult to get along with the blockchain. Anyway, there were a lot of nuances that I didn't know about, which were hard to predict, but we worked it out. I can tell you for sure is that we have solved them. And as unpleasant as it may be, it's done. So we are waiting. Those who want the app now on Android, send a message to us. We will give it to you for iOS users. We will give it to you in a few days so that you can tell that everything is ready, everything works, so that we also have an open dialogue with you. What's next for us? Merlin clone, everything is much simpler with Merlin clone, everything is going well. So the capitalization, the valuation that DAO ARK entered at, I will say this, it turned out to be grossly undervalued. At the time, I didn't know it would develop so fast. I didn't think the project would develop so fast. I didn't expect it to reach such capitalization in a short period. It's hard for me to tell you a specific figure of the capitalization still, but I would say this. The worst case scenario is that Merlin clone is now worth 5 times more than when DAO ARK entered. That's the worst pessimistic scenario, that if I go out on the street right now and say, guys, we're selling Merlin clone for $18 million, that valuation, a lot of people will come to me and say, we really want to buy it. So it turned out to be a really good product, a promising project that is already generating revenue and profit. Accordingly, the profit and revenue will be sent to DAO ARK as dividends, therefore, on the 10th of July from Merlin clone also, as far as I remember, a few $1,000s, around $5,000 or $6,000 in dividends will go to DAO ARK. In other words, Merlin clone is doing quite well, it is developing, and there is investment interest. Right now, the main thing we do is we negotiate on valuation with investors who want to invest. That is, investors come on their own, or we are led to some investors, we negotiate with them. I want a specific valuation in mind, I can't say yet, but it's a few tens of millions of dollars. I want to sell at that valuation, and they say, let's make it lower, yeah? But there's no point in selling at lower valuation. So basically, what do I see in Merlin clone? What strategy do I see for DAO ARK? I would suggest that at this stage of attracting investors, we sell at least 1/3 of the stake. I would honestly like to buy more than 1/3 myself, to be honest. I will be honest with you, as a founder of this project, I would like to get a bigger share at a higher valuation of 5, 6, 7 times more than DAO ARK invested initially. This is strategically and tactically important for me, so during the summer, I will be proposing an initiative to sell part of Merlin clone's stake to do a partial cash out as well. Accordingly, $150,000 was invested. Let's imagine that the $50,000 invested back then multiplied by 5 in the worst case scenario, making it $250,000 for DAO ARK. What does that mean? That's $150,000 we get back in the same way as I described with KARATOR, in the same way. An additional 100 can be paid out as dividends. So we have potentially, if everything goes well, if we do everything right, then KARATOR and Merlin clone should give us a total of $200,000 in dividends through a partial exit. I would suggest, in fact, to sell 2/3 of the Merlin clone stake to lock in good profit, get good dividends at the end. By September, we will have good fat dividends around $200,000. Everyone will be able to buy whatever they want, and it will be a good return on investment. I mean, I would suggest, in fact, I would really like to suggest that, because I am going to go in with a smaller stake in the next rounds. In short, it's easier to buy back now than later. Because currently 5%, roughly 3.5% can be redeemed now, allowing for cash out, that is to say, give cash, give DAO ARK cash that can be used, invested, paid out as dividends, and so on. A year from now, it will be more difficult to realize that 5% for cash out, because there will be investors coming in even at a higher valuation. But most likely, we will only be able to sell 1/3. Anyway, I would also suggest here that we don't sit on eggs, especially when it's not golden eggs, it's digital eggs. This is an IT company which also has its own risks. We must understand that Merlin clone is good technology. We sell, there is investment interest. 3 to 6 months from now, tomorrow Google will come out and say, I did the same thing. YouTube will come out and say, I did the same thing. There are risks involved that need to be objectively perceived. Therefore, of course, I am always rooting for my project, but I am sitting in front of you now as, first of all, as a co-participant of an investment fund, investment cooperative, and secondly, as a risk manager and as an organizer of the DAO itself. And I am well aware that if there is a partial exit point and it is possible to lock in profit, to receive dividends, it is better to do it. At the very least, I will offer to sell 1/3 of the stake. Ideally, I will offer to sell 2/3 of the share. I won't propose selling the share completely because I realize that the project is good. It is desirable to hold on to it. However, I will definitely propose a range from 1/3 to 2/3. Most likely this summer, most likely it's July, August, within that period. So here too, we can think about it. I agree with Sergey that finances should be in motion. Digital eggs are good, sitting on them is good, but digital eggs have their risks. Yes, selling half is a great idea. In fact, Oleg says we can sell half. Half is a good compromise. I would sell 2.5% of the stake that DAO ARK owns directly. So I will definitely be bringing it up. There are people who would like to buy out at a lower valuation. So roughly speaking, there are already those who would like to purchase it in a cash out at a mark of 15 million, who would like to just give the money saying, give us their share and we'll give you the money. So for the summer so far, our goal is to bargain further, generate operating earnings, make operating revenue, operating income, and pay dividends. And we will try to realize the share itself. At least this will be the compromise that I would like to ask DAO, that we somehow agree with you here and try to sell at least 1/3, that you give me the opportunity to sell at least 1/3, so that I give that money to DAO and free the investor board from holders a little bit, including DAO. Next, what do we have? XDAO? XDAO seems to be doing well. XDAO seems to be developing. It looks like the guys from XDAO released the 3rd version. They invited me to an event recently. It was in English. Yes, Dimitri, did you want to say something? Yes, turn your mic on.
Like Koshai, I'm withering over the gold. I'm willing to sit on digital eggs. About Merlin, I see Merlin not only as an investment vehicle, but also as a key tool of the DAO infrastructure, right? And even if Google releases its clone or whatever, it's not like it's going to have the Merlin one that we have, thanks to your neural networks that are helping us to enter the global market. But first of all, to develop our project to expand, because the exchange...
All of this will have absolutely no effect on that. So having 5%, 3%, 1%, 0.1% for DAO ARK, the Merlin clone infrastructure will be provided to the same extent. So it's definitely not going to have an impact here, I can tell you that for sure. So you don't have to worry here.
Okay, and what about the profit? How much did Merlin clone generate? As far as I remember, it's the most profitable among all the projects we have right now.
Well, look, so far it generated. So cumulatively, by September, it will be around $12,000 in total. Well, that's...
And how many X is that? What's the capitalization, roughly at least?
Look, the capitalization, of course, should be calculated on the sale of the share, but roughly that's 500, well, roughly 5x.
500x?
No, not 500x, 500%, not 500x. 500x is a lot.
So 5x, right?
Yes.
But I sure as hell wouldn't agree to sell it. I would at least suggest, I don't know, I can understand you too, to miss out on such wealth. I don't know. Let's make a compromise, 50-50 at least, to leave us some of what you want to take for yourself.
No, it's not like I want it for myself. I will let investors in to take that part. It's just that you entered at one price. Those investors, they will enter at a completely different price. And the thing is, I can let investors in on a stake that DAO doesn't own. It will be a different valuation. This would be an evaluation twice as high, but DAO wouldn't receive any money from it. And I can let investors in by selling a portion of the DAO stake, and then the DAO gets some of that money. However, I am not proposing to sell the entire stake, but 1/3 or half or 2/3 of the stake held by DAO. This way, DAO will still have a substantial capital that will continue to grow, dividends will be paid, and it will be possible to sell it later while still owning a part of the company. That's how I would see it.
Okay, I have a question then. Why sell at all? In other words, in addition to besides it being an extra transaction through our blockchain infrastructure and so on.
It's pure risk management again, just like the KARATOR, it's the same. That's why I propose to lock in the profit. If there is a possibility to do it, we should not chase super profitability, we should chase solid profitability. Then we will be interesting to the community, we will be interesting to other people, then we will be able to expand properly. If we just sit on small dividends, it may be interesting, but we will only be truly attractive with larger dividends. But if we get in and out of deals and make it profitable, then others will be interested in joining us. Other people will want to come in. and we may no longer be 560 people, but 5,600 people. And not $1.5 million fund, but a $15 to $20 million fund, and then we can get into more deals. So it's something that we kind of give now to get later. Well, that's the way I see it.
I'm just not really, frankly, up to speed on the market situation. I'm just looking at the tools that we have that Clone is made of. I am really pleasantly impressed. I don't know what could be better on the market. I don't know the situation.
Yes, there are companies.
What analogs are there?
There are companies that are worth $500 million already, not with the same technology stack, but similar. I mean, they have already had $66 million invested in them. Now they are worth about $500 million. They have gotten to this valuation in about a year and a half. So in a way, there are analogs, but they are not quite exactly our competitors. Although they are close, they are in the room next to us, and it's a thin wall between us. So I say let's manage competently in terms of risk management, and then we will definitely be in the positive. We have to grow, we have to make money, we have to guarantee people the security of their money, we have to guarantee people profitability, and then we will become big.
Okay, thanks again for the answers.
All right, thank you, Dimitri. Okay, moving on to XDAO. About XDAO, it seems to be developing thanks to the guys who work on that project. We will see. We have a token unlock, if I remember correctly, I think in 7 months. So we will wait for the unlock to see what the price will be then. So far, the price is trading somewhere around 12x of what we entered at. I mean, as I remember, let's look at it now just so you understand where to look. There's this website, CoinMarketCap. I will show you roughly how I see it. Okay, XDAO, here is XDAO. XDAO, let's see monthly stats. They have, well, we entered at a valuation of $50 million. Now their capitalization is at $640 million. So that's about 13x. Look, Dimitri, we have found the most profitable project. So this is, as far as I know, this has been going on since November. Yeah, since November. Well, late October, early November. They have been trading since November, trading in this range. It looks like, let me see what their volumes are now. The volumes there are $150,000. Well, small volumes are being traded. About $100,000 a day. I don't know what will happen a year from now. A year from now, the price will be at least 2, maybe 3 times less. So realistic expectations are that we get 3 or 4x here a year from now, realistically. That's what we would be able to sell for if there's no dividend part in there. Generally, XDAO seems to be doing well. If anything, you can monitor it here on CoinMarketCap. Just search for XDAO. Go to this website to do it. Now, as for ARK Marketing, it's working. ARK Marketing has been working for almost a year, and the department was completely formed. Basically, the results can be seen in many areas. So ARK Marketing is the kraken that boosts all the projects, that boosts DAO, that boosts ARK Consensus, that boosts ARK Media, that interacts with Merlin Clone to create content. In general, everything is okay with our marketing. I would suggest giving an extra $25,000 to marketing department this summer for salaries, because marketing, specifically the marketing team, is non-commercial. We are actually spending money there. So maybe in July I may make such a proposal, but it's not certain. We will see. Maybe we will close early on the investment. So marketing is doing well so far. Everything is okay. Now let's talk about ARK Media. What has ARK Media become? First, basically, ARK Media is a hybrid of Merlin Clone and ARK Marketing. What is ARK Media? It is a company that offers services for managing social media accounts in 13 languages. Currently, I think ARK Media has sold services for a total of around $30,000. Dividends from ARK Media will also be available on July 10th. There will be several $1,000s in dividends from ARK Media. There is a clear model there. We will actively scale and develop it. It sells well. Out of the $50,000, well, we did not even spend $50,000. We did not even get that money. As I recall, at ARK Media, we spent only $15,000. That said, we already had sales of 30. Of that, some of the revenue is taken by Merlin Clone, some of the revenue is taken by ARK Media, and some of the revenue is taken by the team directly involved in providing the service itself. There is a manager, a person who manages everything, provides a service, and they split the profits from the sale of services roughly 50-50. Merlin Clone provides the technology at cost. ARK Media does sales, finds clients. And then we have Igor, he is the head of it, and Igor provides the service using Merlin Clone technologies and the technologies he has. So you see, the profit is distributed roughly to 3 parties. So we shall need to inject, I think, about $20,000 or $25,000 in June into ARK Media. I do not remember exactly how much was allocated there. 50 was allocated, but about 15 or 20 was spent. In general, not spent yet. We will actively spend on marketing there. We just need to make sales there. So ARK Media is kind of a good story for us, for our DAO ARK. There will now be a channel in 13 languages starting already June. That is, ARK Media works, it makes money, it is profitable. We only need to scale it now. So that's actually a kind of an overall summary of what we have. Okay, I will look now at your questions. Yes, discontent must be growing there now, I see, yes. Ours is not a business fund, ours is an investment fund, yes. Investors first rule, I agree. Ivan, how do you plan to interact with those English-speaking ones you talked about at the beginning? Can you be more specific? Next, is it in English? No translator on the team. Look, there are plans to make a separate Telegram channel for the English-speaking community. Those of you who speak good English will be invited there, and the rest will just not understand anything. Where is XDAO trading? Yeah, I will show you where XDAO is trading. Somewhere probably on DEX on some Uniswap. MEXC, Bilaxi, these rather small exchanges. MEXC, I know what the MEXC exchange is, it's small, but something is traded there, something is traded there. So for now, we are not on a big one. It makes sense to look at XDAO in 6 to 8 months. So far, there is not much point in watching it. So Nicholas supports the cash out on gold and Merlin agrees about dividends, additional DAO emission, then participants can reinvest their dividends if they wish. By the way, Dimitri, that's a good comment for you, that dividends received can be reinvested in the fund to increase your stake, your ownership stake if you want to. So Ivan, how much investment have you raised so far from the new round? I think it was about $50,000 if I am not mistaken. I have not counted exactly, have not done the tables yet. Why injecting money into ARK Media? It was only spent 15K there. That is because there has not been any spending as such yet. We have not started yet. Our team is not fully formed. We just did some good sales. It was warm sales. Now the task is to set cold sales up. The challenge now is to actively scale marketing and actively pursue sales. So that is the main task. Everything is clear there about the product and technology. Now we need to develop the team, hire managers, hire missing staff. That is, there are certain costs that need to be spent, and accordingly, this is what the money will be used for, specifically in this project. But the upside is that it generates some dividends. So Oleg writes, proposal to sell KARATOR in its entirety and Merlin clone in its entirety, all the money to pay off the initial entry into DAO ARK. Interesting, that is basically a proposal where we can sell when we can fully recover the entire amount of the fund investment. That is a factor of 2 in 1 year. It's an interesting model, Oleg. I can offer that. This, at the very least, needs to be rationally discussed with the community. If the community supports it, that's fine with me. In fact, it's fine with me if we sell all of KARATOR and all of Merlin clone. Let's multiply by, on average, for example, by a factor of 5. That makes 350 times 5. That's 1,800,000. So we grow our funds by a factor of 2. We do plus 200%. Not even 200, we do plus 200%. And if you put in 5,000, you get 10,000 in dividends, and you will still have 5K left as your share. All in all, it's an interesting model for sure. At the very least, you could say yes. We cannot technically get out of XDAO yet, because XDAO has a cliff period, so it's a complete token lockup, so we cannot just get out of it tomorrow, for example. We can only, I think, in 8 months, no, in 6 months. In 6 months, we can start selling XDAO token. They will be unlocked for us. Now then, yes, Oleg says here that it's a fact. In a year, everyone will get results. I agree, that is from a reputational point of view. From a commercial investment model point of view, it would be very attractive for us to get out completely early on. In terms of attracting additional investment, we would show something by getting out. On the other hand, we will need to look for projects. Oleg, here it will be necessary to additionally look for projects. That is why this is the construction in general. What's the task for the summer? The task of the summer, oh, good question. The roadmap includes raising money from fund. At what stage now are we now? Any progress in communicating with the funds? Look, our projects DAO ARK and our consensus projects are separated into 2 different projects. DAO ARK is an investment cooperative. ARK Consensus is a mobile app. They live separate lives. The mobile app is now registered with a British company, meaning it's a company in London and it's registered there. There will be separate capitalization, separate investors going in, separate fundraising. Right now at ARK Consensus, we are raising money at the valuation of $10 million. So far, we are told that this is a fairly sober assessment from what we have, from the phase of the market we are in. That's why we communicate with the funds on ARK Consensus. We do not communicate with funds on DAO ARK because funds rarely go into funds. I mean, we are a fund, and funds do not go into a fund very often. I have not seen that a lot, so we are going to go after mostly private investors. International investors. That is, our task is to learn over the summer to be understood by the international community as DAO ARK. Now then, the second question, in crypto, regulators have begun attacking projects that are securities. The SEC can equate an ARK token to a security as it is an investment with the right to receive a profit by its owner. What do you think about that? How do you think to proceed? Specifically, DAO ARK does not have a project owner. In ARK Consensus, for example, there is notionally the owner of the project, a legal entity, a physical person, the person in charge, where the sites are located, where the app is registered. But for ARK Consensus and for the token associated with it, it can be a problem. But it is kind doing thing in proper and legal way, so those issues will be dealt with routinely. Specifically, DAO ARK is something existing somewhere, controlled by someone. So for now, I do not see any such problems for DAO ARK, because DAO ARK is actually just a smart contract with some number of blockchain addresses that manage that smart contract, a contract whose balance sheet contains money. How the SEC can regulate this story is unclear to me. Who can be prosecuted for it is unclear to me. There are no mechanisms for blocking either. So I do not know yet. This is something new. It's a new entity. We shall see. When is the ARK coin scheduled to be listed, and is there a token price forecast for listings? There is a token price forecast for listings. That information is available. We will next hold a private round for ARK Wallet, ARK Consensus token. That is, DAO ARK went into the ARK Consensus at the valuation of 2 million. Right now, we at ARK Consensus raise money at the valuation of 10 million. We plan to raise at the next round at the valuation of 40 million. At the public round, we plan to raise at the valuation of 75 million. Accordingly, the listing would be roughly on valuation of $60 to $80 million. That is, for DAO ARK, it is a multiplication to the listing of about 30 to 40 times. And for DAO ARK listing will be exactly the point of sale of ARK Consensus tokens, where it can post some profit, and the notional 200,000 invested in development, plus 100,000 in marketing, 300,000 multiplied even by 10. It's about $3 million if we want to come out completely. But that is on the pessimistic side. In the normal case, it's $6 million. In the optimistic case, it's $8 million. It's for the public round for next year, for next fall, roughly speaking. That is roughly the forecast, if trying to be accurate with the numbers. Now then, that is what the construction looks like. I tried to present to you what we have within 1 hour. Tried to answer the questions. If there is another question, you still have time to ask it. But all in all, I think I have told you everything I wanted to tell you. The next 3 months will be already active. We will move on. I'll be writing in the group. I suggest getting involved in some operational processes. I suggest that at least in the summer, we will have a lot of activities related to managing money, managing teams, managing projects that we have invested in, generally looking for new projects to invest in, distributing the finances that we now have on our balance sheet. I mean, we will move on for now. We are planning to list the DAO token in the summer or fall when XDAO opens an exchange for DAO tokens. Look, I will now explain the simple logic so you understand. We cannot have DAO token listed on Binance because on Binance anyone can buy it in any quantity. If anyone in any quantity buys a DAO ARK tokens, they will come to the voting, vote 51% in favor of sending the money somewhere, and the money will go somewhere. That is the important thing to realize. We need specialized DAO token exchanges that have the ability to lock a token up while it is on the exchange. And a person who buys a token to use it, not just hold it, they have to unlock it. Freezing will mean 7, 10, 14 days, and during that period we will see which address is unlocking tokens, how many tokens it is unlocking, whether it has more tokens, whether it is affiliated with other addresses. And we can control the flow of tokens from the market into governance tokens, that is, into management tokens, into DAO ARK tokens. No such exchanges exist yet. XDAO is the first platform to do such exchanges. It's a new entity, it's new input date that have come up in the last 6 months. Because if we just list on regular exchanges, the big risks are that money bags will come in. I mean, I will explain to you roughly how it works. Let's imagine we put up a large number of tokens. These tokens are on an exchange, some Polonix or Bittrex. You have $1 million. There are $500,000 in the DAO ARK account. You take your $1 million and you start buying tokens on the exchange. You buy on your account, you buy them for $1 million, let's say. You have accumulated tokens so that your 55% of tokens become a governance token. Perhaps not 75, no, not 66%, so that it's 33 each. But let it be with a dilution, with the fact that the price went up, 52 to 55% of the price of the token, no, of the total quorum. And accordingly, you can go in, initiate a vote, click withdraw money to this wallet. And your one vote will be enough to make it happen. These are risks that are associated with token trading on regular centralized exchanges. Yes, ARK Consensus has its own token, DAO ARK has its own token. DAO ARK owns a share in ARK Consensus. How big is that share? 15% of all ARK Consensus tokens, and DAO ARK came in at the valuation of $2 million. It's now about 5 times more expensive than DAO ARK went in a nutshell. We can hold a separate live stream on this topic, but it is a kind of a viable, adequate construction. There is place for funds in that share, outside of the 15% to be exact. There is a place for funds, there is a place for advisors, there is a place for the team, there is a place for liquidity. Anyway, it has its own tokenomics. We can, if you are interested, look at it. All in all, this is the fruit of, so to speak, more than 6 months of activity, interaction with advisors, consultants, funds, and so on. This particular formula turned out to be the most viable. If there will be a desire to sell delisting tokens, where, when, and how can it be done? It can be done. Maybe at the end of the summer, I will tell you exactly where to go for that. It will either be DEX exchanges of some sort or DAO DEX. In the future, when all tokens are in the market and distributed to holders, would you consider top exchanges? This can give a good inflow of liquidity. Of course we do consider. As part of the ARK consensus, we are looking specifically at financial ones. Now, specifically, the ARK wallet's ARK consensus token should go to Binance. So that is exactly where we are. We will make the main token on BNB there. There is a separate story there. There is a whole technical background that can be sorted out in a separate stream. If you want, we can do a separate stream in June on the ARK consensus project. I would show you in detail on the documentation that we have for DAO, on the business model, on the plans, on the strategic exit entry, the investment part. Anyway, I think you would be interested because I personally think that ARK consensus for DAO ARK is the key investment of all. At least in my eyes it is. It's the most crucial, the most potentially lucrative investment of all the ones out there put together, I would say that. But that is my idea of being ahead of the market for now. I believe that 2 years from now this could be confirmed in the numbers. Yeah, okay, it's a deal. That is what will we do. You will hear about it. How directly will the price increase of ARK Wallet and ARK Consensus tokens affect the price of the DAO ARK token? Very strongly, very strongly. Imagine you invested 300,000 at the valuation of 2 million. If the project costs 200 million, then that 300,000 turned into 30 million. That is how much of an impact it could have, considering DAO ARK only had 1,200,000. Roughly, just so you understand, this is only one project. $200 million is not even CoinMarketCap's top 100. It's the end of the top 200 or the middle of the top 200. That is, at least strategically, we have an understanding that it is definitely possible to get into the top 100. Yes, there is a forecast, there is a forecast. I covered it too. I think we will see DAO ARK actively multiplying. At least it has quadrupled since the beginning of sales. I mean, we were selling DAO ARK token for 1/4 cent, now it's a cent each. That is, the DAO ARK token quadrupled in value. ARK Consensus token has grown 5-fold. So far, I have even had more potential guys come to my marketing director. They say, how do you get these numbers? I explain to them like this, like that, and like that. People do not fully understand how such numbers can be obtained. And only when they look more closely, when they see what the numbers are based on, then they start to realize, yes, okay, this is very interesting. It's very interesting what you have done. So it goes something like this. If it's in the A year to 3 range, I would take a year's range, then this is multiplied by 3 to 5 to the current numbers in the 3-year range, multiplication to current numbers by 15 to 20 plus. But that is my subjective opinion, my private personal feelings. You can call it my intuition. It's not an investment forecast, it's where I am aiming to go. You could say that like that. That is the situation. Later on, when there is an exchange listing, do you already have a model and a vision of how it's going to play out? The issue of manipulation and the choice of market maker. I was just saying that yesterday I spoke to a market maker, one of the biggest market makers. I think he is in the top 10 market makers in the world. He suggested, give us the exclusivity to regulate the price of your token by manipulation, bribery, and stuff like that. So far things function that way. I mean, it usually has to be done closer to the action, so to speak. Now then, okay, when will a separate coin appear? Will appear in the summer. It makes little sense in a separate coin for now. We have not done the architecture yet, but I think it's June, around June, because there is no point in rushing there. As long as it's not on the exchange, it will purely be a so-called utility. So we aim for June. Okay, all right, folks, I think I have covered everything. I suggest to end soon. It's been exactly an hour. Will Merlin clone turn into a global university? That is Tech Merlin. Well, let us not talk about the Merlin clone now, or I will not be able to buy it back from you at all later on. So let us not discuss Merlin clone. It is a high-risk IT product that can go bankrupt at any time. It can be shut down. The technology can be copied. Let's think about that. Everyone will make a good profit on it anyway. Let's get DAO ARK up and running and then everything else. Okay, that is basically it. Dear all, thank you very much. I will upload the recording to the group, so you can review it if you are late. Those who have not attended can check it out too. Otherwise, thank you very much for your questions. I tried to explain everything that was going on. The next full stream like this, I think, will be at the end of the summer when we can summarize the summer. We can recap what I said today, what I did not say today, and what I will be saying at the end of August. So for now, it's like this for now. I try to do so that what I said a few months ago matches what I say today. It does not always work out, but somewhere it works out a little better than I said it would. Somewhere it works out a little worse. On average, it works out pretty well. We will therefore do our best. Now, I really want you and us to get $200,000 to $250,000 in aggregate dividends over the summer. In short, on September 11th, I really want that. That will just be my maximum program. I will celebrate that day without alcohol, of course, but I will celebrate. So that is it. Thank you very much, everybody. Best of luck to all. Let us all stay in touch. We will move on.